Hello, everyone. I hope you're all having a good day and are looking forward to more stories from our relationship advice. This post is by Kinky Kitten. My boyfriend, 26 male, put his hands on me, 19 female, this morning. Can you guys give me advice? This morning, my boyfriend, 26 male, and I, 19 female, woke up so peacefully, had sex, and went into the kitchen to make some coffee and breakfast before I went to my classes. We were talking while the coffee was brewing, and then he starts shadowboxing me. He boxes and was pretending to punch me. While I was standing there asking him over and over again to please stop doing that because I don't like any form or representation of domestic violence. I have a hard boundary about anything close to or representing domestic violence, whether it be verbal or physical. Anyways, he was shadowboxing me, and I asked him 4 times nicely to please stop doing that, and that I don't like that or put up with that kind of thing. The 5th time I told him I'm dead serious and he better stop now. It was almost as if he was deaf to my requests, and whole time I never even raised my voice to him. He continued to shadow box me after I told him I was dead serious about it, and when he didn't stop that 5th time, I took a glass full of water and doused him with the whole thing in his face. Then I stormed off to his room. He then came to the room and told me that I needed to clean up that mess. I told him it's not my mess to clean up, and that it's just the consequences of his actions of not listening to me the first 4 times I asked him to stop. Eventually, I got up from the bed I was sitting on. Mind you, the mattress is all the way on the floor. I get up and he shoved me hard as hell back on the bed in an aggressive way. I get up again and he does the same thing again. Then I tell him he ruined the date I had planned for later today and that I'm leaving. Then he takes my bag of clothes and hides it across the house. I go to the kitchen looking for my bag, and this whole time we're screaming at each other. Then he shoves me again and screams at me to get the fuck out of his life. I go to leave his house and he won't let me leave, and he's holding my property hostage. Eventually, I get out of the house and get into my car, but he then brings my bag back but takes my phone to get me to come back inside. I take his glasses off his face so he gives me my phone back, and he damn near smashes my phone on the floor. Eventually, he brings my phone and he gets his phone and glasses from my car and is trying to talk with me and reason with me. It's difficult because this is a deal breaker to me. I always vowed that if a man ever put his hands on me, that I'm leaving the first time and not sticking around for a next time, because if I stay, they're gonna think it's okay. His behavior was extremely erratic and toxic and almost scary because he's a boxer and could seriously hurt me if he wanted to. In general, he's the sweetest person, but he sometimes has these episodes of acting crazy and neurotic. We're already going through things in our relationship, and I just don't know if he's good for me. Especially now that he put his hands on me, I can't, out of respect for myself, tolerate that and return to him. I started crying in the car and told him that now I'm going to be scared of him, which he would hate for that to happen. But that's what happens when you put your hands on a female. That's a big no-no and a subsequent deal breaker. I know I deserve so much better. I just don't know if this is stuff that every couple goes through and if it's somewhat normal in healthy relationships. Would it be healthy to leave or stay? TLDR. My boyfriend disregards my request for him to stop shadow boxing my face and he doesn't listen. So I splash a cup of water on him. We get into an altercation where he shoves me 3 times and holds my property hostage and doesn't let me leave his house. I eventually leave, and I don't know whether I should leave him or try and work it out in our relationship. Update. Thank you guys for all the responses, and also I appreciate the devil's advocates calling me out on the water thing. Y'all are right, I could have walked away. It was in the heat of the moment, and what's done is done. I'm glad it happened though, because now both of us have a burden lifted off of us, and it was a dead-end relationship anyways. Thank you all for your support and feedback. Definitely a learning experience. I'm leaving him, and I'm not looking back. It's time, I'm grateful, and on to better things. P.S. I posted this looking for confirmation that I should leave him and leave no room to second-guess my decisions of leaving. It is a hard boundary, and I'm going to enforce that. It would be disrespectful to myself and victims of domestic violence to stay and condone abuse. As for anybody reading this going through something similar, I suggest you leave too. There is too much love to find and experience to ever settle for anything less than the best. Well, I'm glad you got the advice you needed, OP. But to be honest, this is something you never should have second-guessed to begin with. It's your boundaries and you have to advocate for your own well-being in order to enforce them. No one else will be able to do it for you, and it's important to keep in mind if you ever get into a similarly compromised situation in the future. But now, on to the comments. Comment by Effective Video 5787. The thing about deal breakers is they have to actually be a deal breaker. Your boyfriend committed acts of domestic violence, pushing you, preventing you from leaving, throwing your phone, lost belongings. If domestic violence is a deal breaker, then your relationship is over. The fact that you would even consider staying with him means domestic violence is not a deal breaker. Your boyfriend won't change or stop doing these things. He will only escalate. If you stay, you are sending a very loud and very clear message to him that his behavior is acceptable. Another comment by Chopstick Insect. There's a hard and fast rule you should know in a relationship. If they hit you once, they will hit you again. Comment from Undebatable Mom. It is not something that every couple goes through and is a scary sign of things to come. It is in no way normal in a healthy relationship. Please, for your own safety, leave. And a final comment, this one coming from High Rise Cat. It's difficult because this is a deal breaker to me. It's not difficult. He was pushing your boundaries to see what you'd tolerate. Don't go back. You did absolutely the right thing. While not much else to say about this story, it's pretty straightforward, and OP got out. But the hope is that they are now aware of the type of manipulation that domestic abusers employ. People like to think that an abusive partner is this cartoonishly evil person that no one will be willing to tolerate being in the presence of. But the truth is that it is much more sinister than that. They will victimize you one minute and then pamper you the next. And it's a tactic to create an air of confusion. It will give you the false hope that this is a person that can be saved from their violent outbursts with enough affection and care. And that belief is why so many, both men and women, stay in these types of relationships voluntarily. All that being said, let's move on to story number 2. Story 2 comes from a throwaway account. My 41 male wife, 39 female, is making our daughter food averse. How do I address this appropriately? My wife has, throughout our entire marriage, had a terrible habit of butting in, micromanaging, criticizing, and offering unsolicited feedback. I like to cook from scratch, whereas she prefers to buy prepackaged food at the store and heat it up. I will cut up chicken breasts, bread the strips, bake them, and serve them to our daughter. She will buy frozen chicken nuggets. I love cooking. It's very relaxing and centering for me. My wife sees it as a chore. I never insult anything my wife puts on the table and always thank her for putting dinner together. Conversely, I can count on one hand the number of compliments I've gotten on dinners that I spend hours putting together in 10 years of marriage on one hand. If I make something she doesn't like, she'll make over-exaggerated gagging noises. When she sees the look on my face, annoyed, hurt, or a combination, she'll tell me that she's joking and not to get upset. I have warned her that if our daughter picks up on this habit, it will be on her to correct it. This gagging can result if I use full-fat milk in something, butter on garlic bread, or anything she deems to be too caloric. She will buy salt-free and low-fat ingredients at the store instead of what I ask her to get, which create tasteless meals. So I usually do the shopping myself. Nobody is overweight, nobody has a medical condition. She buys it just because it's healthier. The other night, I made chicken Alfredo. I make it with heavy cream. This was with a side of sautéed broccoli and homemade garlic bread. As we sat down to eat it, my wife made one of her gagging movements and said, "Ugh, cream, bread, and pasta. So heavy, so fatty. This is death." My daughter gagged as well, said, "Yucky," and pushed her plate away. I stared daggers at my wife and told her, "Great, now tell her you were joking." She shook her head. She doesn't like it. She knows that it's terrible for her. Maybe this is the sign we need to start cooking healthier. My wife made her chicken nuggets, which she ate happily. I pointed out that these are not healthy. My wife said that she likes what she likes. Now every time I make something, my daughter gags and pushes it away. It doesn't matter if it's a hot dog or a bowl of cereal. If I put it together, she gags, starts laughing, and refuses to eat until mom makes her something else. I tried talking to her, explaining that it's not nice to not even try the food, and it's very mean to the person making the food. She keeps saying, okay, and then does the same thing the next time I make her food. This morning I made egg sandwiches for everyone, one of my daughter's favorites. She gagged, pushed it away, and refused to eat it. I snapped and sent her to her room without breakfast. She started crying. My wife told me that I wasn't being fair. I told my wife that this behavior is not acceptable, and if she's not going to address it, I will be punishing our daughter every time she does it. She told me that's not fair because she shouldn't be forced to eat what she doesn't like. I told my wife that since she created this behavior, moving forward she will be in charge of cooking all meals, because I am done being disrespected by her, and I am not going to tolerate it from our daughter. My wife says that I'm overreacting and that I need to stop putting so much stock into how a child likes my cooking. The thing is, our daughter loved my cooking until she thought it would be funny to start imitating my wife and get something else. I want the behavior to stop, but I don't have it in me not to lose my cool over the situation. My wife is refusing to correct the behavior she created, and as much as I hate it, I know it's wrong to punish my daughter when she's just doing what a terrible role model taught her to do. How do I address this in an appropriate way? TLDR wife taught daughter to make over-exaggerated gagging sounds and reject the meals I cook. How do I redirect the behavior in the proper way and address this with my wife? My solution: divorce. I'm only half joking here, OP. You can go for marriage counseling, and that is the real best answer here. However, it couldn't be me. I could never tolerate someone who acts this way in a romantic relationship, never mind the prospect of raising a child with someone like this. What I really want to know is, how did this never come up before engagement, a wedding, and having a child together? Because it's very doubtful to me that this woman is otherwise a saint. And only acts this way over food? No, something doesn't add up here for me. But let's see what the subreddit thinks about this one. Top comment from Hats and Topcoats. Your wife is an asshole. Yeah, I agree with this comment. Do we even need to go further than this one? Second comment from Local Disaster Gay. I think you need to be less concerned with the fact that your daughter's reaction to your food is hurtful to you, and way more concerned with the fact that your wife very clearly has an unhealthy relationship with food and is teaching your daughter that same way of thinking. If you do not get therapy involved, your daughter's going to be counting calories and restricting herself to a dangerously low daily total by the time she's a teenager. Comment from Remain. Do you have family or friends, OP? Explain the situation, get them over for dinner, and cook for only you and them, with enough aside for your daughter. Have everyone overly exaggerate how delicious it is and give them dessert. Be heavy on how much you appreciate it and reward them. You can even have someone politely explain why they don't like something. It has to be a real explanation. You say it's okay and thank them for their honesty. Ask them if they can eat some so as not to waste too much, and take the rest home for whoever, or let it be something like just the bread they prefer not to eat. You can even still reward them with dessert. Be heavy again on apologizing and thanking them for being kind, honest, and trying the food. I don't know. Something like that, maybe. But it could cause more tension with your wife. You all probably need counseling to figure out why she's such a jerk, but kids can be very receptive to conversations. Just talk to her and ask her why she does it. Let her know how it hurts you, how much love and work goes into making the meals. Maybe compare how she would feel if she drew you a picture and you balled it up and tossed it away. Some sort of comparable anecdote. Just let her know you would never do that because you love and appreciate her. And then invite her to help you cook. She'll be less likely to gag at her own food, learn essential life skills, and you can make her feel good about food and cooking when you praise her for her contributions. And final comment to highlight by Marzipan Joy Joy. Your wife does not respect you at all, and her food concerns are hypocritical and baseless. She's acting like a child. This isn't about food, it's about controlling you and putting you down, which now your daughter is doing. You majorly need therapy with this woman if you plan to stay married. So there are a lot of comments talking about how this will certainly contribute to OP's daughter developing an eating disorder if left unchecked, and how this will give her a negative association with a lot of food, even into adulthood. It's definitely something I agree with. It's much better to tackle this now. Forming that positive association with food with help from friends and family, like that one commenter highlighted, is probably the best way to go about it. But more importantly, that counseling needs to come into play. If you don't want your wife to undermine your efforts to undo this, she needs to be addressed somehow. Anyways, those were some interesting stories. I hope you all enjoyed the listen. Have a great day and stay safe out there. Until next time.